Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Name Am I the Arsehole Here, who says, Am I the Arsehole Here? My girlfriend is angry that I call my friend by his real name. Everyone who knows my ex-boyfriend, 33 male, calls him either JT or by his last name. I, 29 male, was never among those people. He introduced himself to me by his first name, Jude, so that's what I've always called him. 2 years ago, he and I broke up due to him getting a promotion that included a ton of traveling. I love him and I definitely didn't want him turning down an opportunity like that for me. We tried long distance and it wasn't sustainable for us. I'm a homebody through and through, and I like having my person home with me too. I've been dating my current girlfriend, 29 female, for about 8 months now. Jude has recently transferred positions within his company again and is back in our city for the majority of the time. We didn't end on bad terms at all, so we're still friends. My girlfriend always said that she was fine with that. After a group outing with him, my girlfriend, and some other friends, she asked why I call him something different than everyone else. This has since turned into a multi-day argument where she claims that calling him by his first name when no one else does is too intimate. She said it's a relationship thing and that I need to start treating him like a friend. I said she's being ridiculous and unbelievably insecure. It's his name, not a term of endearment. Am I the arsehole here? If someone asked OP for some info, they said, Info, how long were you and Jude dating? It's not about the Iranian yogurt. Your girlfriend feels uneasy and insecure because the man that you love and with whom your relationship ended specifically because long distance didn't work is no longer long distance. You and she have only been together for 8 months versus the years of you and Jude having a connection, whether dating or not. She's scared that you and Jude will get back together and she will be left behind. Is the name thing the exact right way of expressing her concerns? No. Is your response about her being insanely insecure going to help the situation? No. She needs assurance that you are choosing a romantic and intimate relationship with her and that you have no intentions of trying to resume an emotionally or physically intimate relationship with your ex. But if you still have any feelings of romantic love for Jude, you should not be in a relationship because it's not fair to your current partner. OP said, We were together for 7.5 years. I appreciate the advice, truly. But if this is how she's feeling, I'd rather her tell me than pick a fight about a name. We're both nearly 30. Commenter says, I'm going with not the arsehole. If he wanted you to not call him Jude, I could understand it. Your girlfriend doesn't have the right to dictate how you identify someone. It's how you've always known him. Opie says, exactly. If it had come from him, it would make sense. Coming from her, it just seems like a very bizarre thing to focus on. A commenter says, how sure are you she's okay with you still being friends with him? As a fellow bi person, I'm guessing you've heard the stereotypes about us being unfaithful or only happy if we have a boyfriend and girlfriend. Which, if that's your bag, good for you, so long as everyone is informed and cool with it. Personally, I am one partner at a time person, but I won't yuck someone's yum. I'm only curious on this because it seems like a lot of people make assumptions about bisexual people without actually getting to know the individual. I'm wondering if there's some bias leaking into a judgment. Opie says I told her even before the start of our relationship that 1, I'm bisexual, and 2, that he and I were friends, and if that was a problem, then we shouldn't be together. I think romantic partners expecting people to cut off their friends is probably the reddest red flag there is. She said it wasn't a problem. Another commenter says you're putting your ex before any possible romantic relationship. You were saying at the start of your relationship, I would choose this person's friendship over you. She knows deep down he means more to you than she does. Maybe she could handle that when he was far away, but not now that he is back and she has to watch it right in front of her with knowing that. No relationship is going to last if you put your ex above your partner. Opie said that's fair. I appreciate your comment. It's something I think on. It's just important to me to note that this was not just an ex. This was my best friend for 8 years. Commenter says not the arsehole. I actually had a similar thing with a friend in that everyone called her boyfriend BK. He was introduced to me as BK by our mutual friends. Anyway, my friend started dating him and he introduced himself to her as Bren. I asked him if he preferred Bren and he said yes. Turns out he hated being called BK, and it was just a terrible nickname that everyone gave him. Opie says, my ex-partner never hated being called any of his nicknames, but I would imagine it would be a little awkward when it comes to a romantic partner. Last name might work, but it still feels a little too bro-y, you know? I mostly just can't get past the thought of being in bed with someone and referring to them by their initials, JT or BK. Don't exactly roll off the tongue. Now, we started with a title on this one where it says, is it angry that I call my friend by his real name? And then on the first line it said, my ex-boyfriend. And it was like, oh, this is never about the name, is it? This is about 7.5 years. Best friends for 8. That's not an ex, that's like a whole chapter of someone's life. And now he's back in person. And she's 8 months in watching her boyfriend, potentially in her mind, light up using a name nobody else uses. Is OP an asshole for calling Jude Jude? No, of course not. Absolutely not. But I do agree with that other comment, calling her unbelievably insecure with all this background info is never going to be helpful, if you want to continue this relationship in any form. Because as we said, she's not scared of the name. She's scared of being second place in her own relationship. But it was 6 days after this that OP did come back in and said, my girlfriend and I sat down for a long conversation a few days ago. I went into it knowing that separation was the right choice here. Still, I wanted us to have a real talk about our feelings, so I tried to open up the floor for a discussion about what was really bothering her beyond the name issue. She continually insisted it was truly only about that. It ended in her giving me an ultimatum and me breaking things off. Some of the comments on my other posts led me to do a lot of thinking. I was with Jude from the time I was 19 until I was 27. I spent almost all of my 20s with him. I'm now just a few months shy of 30, and the next decade of my life has been on my mind. I don't know if I get to spend it with who I want to, but I know being alone is better than spending it with the wrong person. I'm going to be taking some time for myself. I've never been a relationship hopper. My previous relationship was my first anyway, and I think it's important that people in my life know that they're more important than that. Thank you for all the feedback. Some of the specific exchanges I had here helped spark the internal conversations I needed to have with myself to figure out what I wanted. On the back of this, OP was getting a lot of their responses downvoted, but also a response about having feelings for Jude even after the breakup. They said, I'm always going to love him, and I would love to explore things at a later time. I feel like jumping into something with him right now or even trying to would completely discredit how much I respect and care for him. We never lost touch throughout those 2 years apart, but we've been talking a lot more lately. Just being there to support each other is important and what's best for the both of us right now. A commenter says, the sentence, and I would love to explore things at a later time, is exactly why people are downvoting you. You're admitting that you love him and that you'd be open to a romantic relationship with him in the future. That strongly suggests that you were never fully committed to your girlfriend in the first place. From her perspective, it would feel like she was a placeholder until the opportunity to return to him came along. At the same time, you told your girlfriend she was imagining things and made her doubt her instincts. But based on what you're writing here, she wasn't imagining anything. She picked up on the exact vibes you're now admitting were there. You're describing her as if she were being irrational, yet your own comments show that her concerns were valid. She wasn't crazy. She recognized that your feelings for him went beyond platonic friendship. That's why it's important to take some accountability for this. You're trying to play the victim in your narrative. Well, you aren't the victim here, but the instigator. OP responded saying, thank you for taking the time to write this out. Yes, I can see how it would look from her point of view. It was never my goal to use her as a placeholder in my life, so I think that's why I'm struggling so hard with people insisting it to be true. It makes me question my sense of self, but I think it's because what people are interpreting as intentionally malicious was done completely unintentionally. Another commenter says, OP can't even see that having an emotional affair, lying and gaslighting his girlfriend makes him the bad guy in this situation simply because he didn't intend to. In fact, he's a good guy for letting her go. Just another guy out here with the emotional depth of a shot glass. I hope Jude is able to dodge the bullet that you are, OP, because you clearly have a lot of maturing to do. And OP responded one more time saying, I was in a relationship prior to my last one for almost 8 years. I know how to navigate a partnership that is healthy, loving, and makes me feel safe. I know how to offer that same security to the other person as well. I was also never trying to convince anyone I was the good guy, just trying to explain my point of view since people are accusing me of being malicious and pre-planning everything. But it doesn't matter. There are no more nuanced conversations to be had here for me. I've tried replying in good faith, but people have already made up their minds that their worst assumptions of me are the truth. Any explanations I give are seen as deflecting. I messed up. I thought I had moved on, but a lot of feelings have resurfaced and I've not dealt with that in the most graceful way. What I'm not is some master manipulator. Talking things out a little bit through my first post was helpful, so I thought an update was just a nice way to thank those who offered solid advice for the clarity it provided. Instead, it's just been unsettling, seeing commenters convinced they know my reality better than I do. But that's what the sub is for, I suppose. Lesson learned, life goes on. Anyway, I'm going to spend my time with people who actually know me. Now our next story comes from Silver Springs 27 and says, am I the arsehole here for getting a tattoo knowing it will upset my mum? I read it, would love some outside opinions on this. I'm 19 female and currently looking to get my first tattoo. I've always known I'd want to get tattoos and I've spent some time since coming of legal age to plan out the styles that I like and what specific designs I would want. My first tattoo is going to be a small piece on my upper inner arm of my 2 cats. I've had them since childhood and they've gotten me through some really tough mental health periods growing up and struggling through school. As they're getting older, I want a way to keep them with me forever, and this seems like the perfect first tattoo for me. I'm literally typing this out with the 2 of them curled up next to me, lol. I've been in contact with an artist who is sketching a design for me, and I'm so fucking excited. The problem? My mum, who is pretty much my best friend in the entire world, hates tattoos. Her and I pretty much agree on everything except this. When I got my eyebrow pierced a few years back, she didn't speak to me for a week but has gradually come to accept it. I've been upfront with her about wanting tattoos since the beginning because we basically tell each other everything and she knows that she can't stop me from getting them done. But she's not going to support me or be happy about it. Actually held off getting something done after I turned 18 to wait until she was in a good place with her work and personal stuff. Not that she was in a bad place or anything, but I just wanted to make sure I wouldn't be adding anything to her plate. Because I've been in contact with the artist, I told her today that a tattoo would be coming soon. She can barely look at me now. She says she can't imagine something more ridiculous and irresponsible, that I'm going to be so ashamed that I haven't thought this through, etc. I know a lot of her opinions are a generational thing, but I also think it's really unfair of her to say it's stupid and I'm not thinking about it, when it's not like I'm getting it just for the sake of it. It has a meaning that is important to me. She said that when I get it done, she won't speak to me for a while and probably won't be able to look at me. I know that this will break my heart because she's my absolute rock, and I struggle going a day without talking to her if either of us are working or traveling, let alone if she does it out of anger and for multiple days. So, am I the arsehole here for knowingly doing something that will cause a rift in our relationship? I feel kind of stuck. I know I want to do this for myself, but knowing that I'm actively harming my relationship with pretty much my favorite person is eating me up inside. Is there any way I can make this process easier or hurt less? Have any of you been through a similar experience? Any advice would be really appreciated. Now clearly, OP loves her mum a lot and is a very important person in her life, but the silent treatment, the I won't be able to look at you and not talking to you for X amount of time because of something you've done, that in reality doesn't affect her whatsoever. She's trying to punish you for you making your own adult decisions, and it's a form of control. And what gets to me as well, OP's tried her hardest here. She waited until her mum was in a stable place, was upfront from the beginning and gave her that warning, this is coming up soon, just wanted to warn you kind of thing. And like she said, not picking something just for the sake of it, she's picking something that's really meaningful to her, and it sounds absolutely wonderful. And I think it's going to be really tough for OP to sit with this because clearly her mum and her are connected in quite a way here. So if the comments go how I think they're going to go and go down this controlling route, it might be difficult to sit with for OP initially. But one of the commenters says, not the arsehole, it's your body and she's choosing distance to control you. That's the real issue. OP says, yeah, I know. Both my parents do it as their main form of retaliation. Otherwise, they're both amazing with dealing with conflict. But I hate when they do this because it's hard to get through to them and reach a solution. How do I get through it? I've told her it's hurtful before and doesn't get us anywhere, but she says she's entitled to react the way that she wants. I know I'm still going to get the tattoo because you're right, it's my body, but I just wish I could minimize the family fallout. Commenter says, not the arsehole, you're an adult. Nobody can tell you what you can and can't put on it. as long as it's not a swastika or anything like that. Commenter says, not the arsehole, your mother needs to realize you aren't a child anymore. Seems very childish of your mother to not speak to you because of a tattoo. So the next day, OP did update and then said thank you so much to everyone who offered kind words and shared their own experiences. It really made me feel better about the whole situation. I've gone ahead and booked my tattoo appointment for next week. I have a friend coming with me to support, and I'm honestly so excited to see what the artist has come up with to capture my boys, the cats. I told my mum when I get home from uni. Very upfront, I basically said, I know this is going to upset you, but I figured you should know that my tattoo appointment is booked for next week and the date and time. I won't tell you any more information if you don't want it, but I'm going to go ahead with it as it's my choice and something I thought about and really want. She didn't say anything the whole time, and when I was done just picked up her phone, so I took that as my cue to leave. However, when I told my dad, who I thought was going to be more chill about the matter, he sighed and shook his head, asking where I was getting it and how big it was going to be, all while huffing and rolling his eyes. He then asked me where I was getting the money from. I told him the truth. I've been keeping a small separate fund for the tattoo that I've slowly been adding to. He then called me a liar for the times that I've said I have no money, which, like for small frivolous purchases, is true. I work minimum wage and have a lot of weekly expenses, and said something about, this is how it starts. Is this really who you want to be? Whatever the fuck that means. I think he thinks that when I get a tattoo, I'm going to become a horrible person. I don't even know. I know that the fallout after the tattoo is going to be worse, so I'm going to take the time leading up to it to mentally prepare myself, make sure I'm surrounded by friends and loved ones who aren't fussed about this stuff, which is mostly my cousins. I'm very close with my older aunt and grandma, but they hate tattoos, so I don't think they'll be on my side either. It's going to suck, especially because I'm truly super close with my parents, despite what this post may suggest. The three of us spend a lot of time together. Not because I have no friends, lol. I do, I promise, and I'm going to find their distance very hurtful. But I'm happy that I'm doing this for me and excited to start this new chapter. I'll try to update as to what happens after the tattoo if I can, but thank you so much to everyone who commented their kind words and encouraged me to pursue things that make me happy. I wish you all much love. And we have another update in a moment, but the first commenter says your parents are being really immature about this. Are you in the US? You said in your previous post it was generational, but based on your age, I'm assuming your parents are millennials. Unless you're in a culture where tattoos are taboo, I call BS on that. Doctors, lawyers, and business people now have tattoos. They're just being judgmental about something that is honestly none of their business. It sounds like you've given this a lot of thought and picked something that is meaningful to you. Just tell your parents that you aren't going to discuss it further and to talk to you when they have worked through their issues. I hope you love your tattoo. Commenter says, I'm happy for you. Honestly, your parents sound like low contact material. You're gonna rock your new tat. So OP does come in with that other update and says, to answer some questions commented on my first update. No, I'm not Jewish or any form of religion or culture that has specific problems with tattoos, so that's not where the concern comes from. I don't live in the US, I'm Australian. When I said I think it's a generational thing, my parents grew up in a somewhat upper class areas in the 70s and 80s. They had me when they were older. But the only people who had tattoos were people who'd been to prison or people from the military, or so they say. I reckon they were probably more common than that though. I mentioned in my update I was worried about telling my grandma and older auntie who I thought had the same views. I went out for lunch with them yesterday, and before I left home, my dad told me that my mum had said to him to tell me, apologies for the long-winded sentence, to under no circumstances mention it to my grandma. Something like that she's 89 and doesn't need that kind of stress. But honestly, my grandma is one of my biggest supporters. She was totally fine when I came out to her as a lesbian a few years back, and I chat to her pretty much weekly about stupid teenage gossip, which she's super cool with. We have a very special relationship, and I think my mum forgot to take that into account and just was thinking about the fact that she's nearly a 90-year-old lady from a conservative background. Well, I told my grandma and auntie yesterday, and they were super chill about it. They said that while it's not their thing, they understand it's important to me and were happy I was doing something that made me happy. They asked to see the designs. My auntie, who's an amazing artist, even offered to draw my next tattoos, and they both encouraged me to go get them if things are tough with my parents. They're amazing and I love them. So, the moment of truth. Today, I got my first ever tattoo. I'm so in love with it. My artist was incredible and made the process fun and enjoyable. I made sure to give my parents space both today and in the days leading up to today, not mentioning the tattoo or appointment so as to not rub it in their faces. When I got home a couple of hours ago, we just chatted like normal for a while until my mum said, "Well, how did it go?" I started to say that the session went great and the artist was lovely, and she cut me off saying, "Are you going to show us or what?" So I just lifted up my sleeve and showed them. They were quiet for a couple of seconds, leaning in to look at it, and my dad just said, "It's bigger than I thought." And my mum went, much bigger, with like a grimace, whatever. My dad asked me if it hurt and how long it took, so I guess that was nice. Then I just took myself off to bed, hugging and kissing them both goodnight like everything was normal. I'm just going to give them space with it and act like normal because it is normal. This is nothing insane or horrible, and I can see now that my anxieties around their reactions made me make it into something that seemed way bigger. It's my body and my decision to make, and I'm so happy that I've made it. You can take a peek at my tattoo here, just because this subreddit doesn't allow images, but I'm more than happy to show it off. We'll look at it in a sec. Thank you so much to everyone who commented to help me put my big girl's pants on and brave the consequences to my own actions. You all really helped me put into perspective and understand that my parents are entitled to their opinions, but they don't have to dictate what I do or don't do, and everyone who shared their own stories. Thank you very much. Sending you all lots of good vibes. Thank you for your kindness. Right, let's take a little wee peek at this tattoo, shall we? Oh, that's pretty cute little tattoo. I'm not sure how big it is. I can't really get the scale, but just two little kitties sitting side by side there. They sort of have like very thin line work by looks of it and not very much shading at all. Both the cats are sort of looking straight at you, like straight at the camera if you like, with their tails curled behind them. Very cute and an absolute lovely memory for OP to keep on themselves forever. But it brought me back to getting my first tattoo and when I was 17 years old and, turned that age and everyone around me that I know has tattoos. And I thought, now I need a tattoo. So I was like in the tattoo shop. I must have just picked it out within like minutes and had it done. It's covered up now, but gee bloody whiz. Don't do what I did, folks. Do what OP did. Research your tattoo. Pick something meaningful to you that you love, that you're going to treasure forever. Find a tattoo artist that works for you. Look at their artwork. Don't just pick some random. This has just brought me to another little side quest discussion. I'm sorry, waffling on as usual. I was having a discussion some time back with a couple of people about tattoos, and this person insisted, you have to put up with the pain to have a tattoo. And I'm like, the fuck you talking about? And this was against, people using numbing cream. I use numbing cream when it frickin' on my arm. The first part, like the bottom half of my arm, was absolutely fine. But when it started getting towards the armpit, holy shit. When you've been sat there for like nearly 8 hours and it's red raw and the guy's still going, it's just like, oh, so awful. But Guy was saying, no, you got to put up with that pain to have the tattoo. It's a part of the process. And I'm like, nah, not a chance. I like the artwork. I'm not in it for the pain. I was Googling it when I got home and I was looking at various discussions on threads on Reddit, on other social medias as well. And there's just so many people that's like that as well. But I'm going to be interested to know what your thoughts on that are as well, or am I going crazy? Let us know your thoughts and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the best of no updates. So there is no update to this one, just to warn you. It's from Miss Introvert from the Relationship Advice subreddit, who says, my 25 female boyfriend, 28 male, pretended to like my cooking for over a year, and I don't know how to get over it. And another little warning, this story was a few years back, so if you see some of the dates, don't be surprised by them. It says, so all of this started in January of 2019 on New Year's Day. My boyfriend and I had been together for a little over a year at that point. The new year had caught us snuggled in bed listening to nearby fireworks. I remember asking him if he had any New Year's resolutions and him replying that he didn't really have any, but that he wanted to get more serious about his health and start eating more home-cooked meals. After he said that, I immediately came up with the idea of cooking for him. Before then, we would normally eat out or order in when we were together. Because of our schedules, cooking dinner wasn't an option, so I decided to make him lunch during the week. He usually drops me off at work in the morning, so that morning when we were both heading back to work, I surprised him with lunch and coffee because he's not really a breakfast person. He seemed genuinely surprised and happy, and seeing him happy made me happy. That same night, when I was over at his house, he went out of his way, before I even asked, to thank me and let me know how much he enjoyed his lunch. From then on, I've been preparing lunch for him every weekday and sometimes on weekends. I would ensure that I stopped by the grocery store or farmer's market often to get fresh produce. I would meal prep every night no matter how tired I was. I would make healthy versions of his favorite meals. I avoided the foods he hated or was allergic to. I made sure to make meals that wouldn't get soggy or inedible in any way by noon. I made a wide variety of dishes, and I even put them in some cute disposable, environmentally friendly containers for him. I would always cook for him when I got the chance to, and I would stock his fridge with food he could reheat when he was on his own because he absolutely hated cooking. All of this wasn't a burden at all. I loved doing it for him. For me, it was a display of affection and genuine interest in his health. He is not overweight or suffering from any illnesses, but his father suffered a heart attack in 2018, so I kinda wanted to steer him from that path. I also benefited from this too. My culinary skills improved and I was getting healthier too. And throughout all of this, he constantly showed his appreciation. He showed me with praises for most meals and thanked me often. He even went as far as praising my cooking in front of family, friends, and strangers, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. He takes me to a company party where I officially got to meet some of his co-workers, though I was already familiar with some of them. I ended up bumping into my cousin's best friend, whose husband also worked at the company. After catching up for a while, she sneakily pulled me outside and told me that my boyfriend has allowed me to become the laughing stock of his workplace. She told me that her husband told her that he came to work one morning and announced to everyone that he hated his girlfriend's cooking. Then he proceeded to throw his lunch in the fridge and tell his co-workers that they had free dibs on it. And that is how the whole joke started. Apparently, my boyfriend would just abandon his lunch in the fridge every day, and any of his co-workers who didn't have lunch or couldn't be bothered to go out and get any would brave it and eat his lunch instead. They also had a rule that whoever decided to eat his lunch that day would not only have to announce it to everyone, but they would have to eat by themselves that day. She said it was a huge thing, and even her husband and their boss ended up having his lunch at some point. She said her husband tried my Korean beef bowl. I'm assuming it was the one based on what she described was in it, and he really liked it, and sometimes the other co-workers liked my meals too, but not all the time. I don't think I need to mention how shocked, hurt, and embarrassed I was. Here I was at his company party laughing and rubbing shoulders with the same people who were in on the joke. I thanked her and promised her that I wouldn't snitch on her. Then I called a cab home and sent him a text saying that something came up and I had to leave. The next day I went over to his house and confronted him after asking repeatedly who told me all this with no answer. He came clean and confessed that everything I heard was true, but that it was just harmless fun. He said that it's not my cooking he hates, he just doesn't like eating healthy, and he doesn't know how to tell me to stop without hurting my feelings because he knows how happy it makes me to cook for him. He apologized a million times that night and told me it wouldn't happen again, and I gave in because, well, I love him, and I thought it was something I could eventually get over. But then a few days later, I snuck into his phone and looked at one of the group chats he has with some of his friends from work, and what I found in it was horrible. They were cracking jokes and sharing memes about my cooking. At one point in the chat history, a friend asked him why he was staying with me because sure, it wasn't the cooking, and he responded by saying, well, the sex is great. He even sent messages in the group chat the same night I confronted him, telling everyone how he got busted, but he smoothed things over. And they responded with freedom at last and check under a pillow at night for knives. But I'm not done yet. The nail in the coffin was seeing that he also talked about me in his family group chat, and now everyone thinks or knows I'm a bad cook. I even saw a message from his dad saying, I accidentally lost a casserole in our fridge after you warned me. Thanks for the heads up, son. I broke up with him that same night. I've never been so humiliated and crushed in my entire life, and I don't think I can ever trust him again. I don't understand how he could have kept this up for over a year. He would tell me how much he loves my cooking and even go as far as telling me exactly what he loved about each meal. The only hints I ever really got that something was kind of off was when he would always try to get us to eat out on weekends, claiming that I needed a break, and there was even this one time where I found a week's worth of meals I had prepared for him dumped in his garbage, and him saying that he had to dump everything from his fridge because it stopped working for a while and everything spoiled. Lies on top of lies. Now he's telling me that I'm taking this way too seriously and that I need to put my pride aside and accept that he didn't mean to hurt me. He says he can't believe I'm willing to throw away our relationship for something as petty as this. He says he wants to marry me. He even called my dad, who then called me and told me that I should let it go and try to improve my cooking. I told him that I'll think about it some more, but at this point I really don't know. Your advice would be appreciated. But let's face it, the cooking itself isn't the issue here. She wasn't serving him inedible food. People were eating the food, right? Instead, he chose to mock you in group chats at his work office, around anyone, to his family group chats as well. Basically anyone that will listen, he was mocking you behind your back. And now people are saying you're being petty for breaking up with him, that it was just some kind of joke, whatever the fuck his excuse was. How'd you look at any of these people that he's been mocking you to again? How'd you look at them and talk to them in a nice way when you know they've been talking to you behind your back? Say you was going to attend one of his work functions with him or something. You know all these people have been potentially eating and maybe mocking your meals at the same time. Say you get married and all these people turn up to your wedding. You're paying for these people that's mocked you behind your back. Yeah, sod that shit. And screw this guy who's instigated all of this. I wouldn't be able to move past that. That's no way at all. After you showed all this love and care about his health, it sounds like you put a ton of effort into it, a lot of love and care. If he had a problem with your food, he could have spoke to you about it, but he didn't. He chose to mock you behind your back. It's as simple as that. How would you feel about this one? Could you ever see a path forward after something like that? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.